So unfair. So unfair.
All right, we are now live. Please wait with me momentarily while I double check this on my end. All right, let's get us kicked off and started a little bit early, but enough that we can be on time. I see Parker Brown with me. As you're hopping on here, please give me those thumbs up so I know who you are, and also start commenting. I also see Sean Kaiser. Thank you for tuning into our broadcast. As you know, we are conducting candidate forums today. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and my counterpart today is Alberto Garcia, our timekeeper. He's also my former mayor pro tem for the City of Westminster Legacy Award recipient, strong supporter for community overall business, and my strategic advisor. Thank you for being on here with me this morning, Alberto. Councilor DeMott, thank you also for hopping onto this broadcast and sharing a quick message with us. And our board chairman, Brian Dice, thank you as well for sharing an interest into these broadcasts. So we'll go ahead and get started. And the first thing that we like to start off with is an idea of who this candidate is. So share with us an introductory statement, Vanessa, about who you are and why you're seeking this office.
Well, absolutely. Good morning. Well, I think it's actually good afternoon now. Juliette, Alberto, thank you so much for hosting this, and everybody on the board for the chamber. My name is Vanessa DeMott. I'm your Republican candidate for House District 29, born and raised in Jefferson County. I grew up in a working class family in Arvada. I watched my dad struggle with alcoholism for the first 16 years of my life. I say 16 years because those first 16 years, I witnessed domestic violence on a weekly basis. But at age 16, I learned I had a voice, and I spoke up, but it cost me everything. My family couldn't afford a dual living situation, so I was put into a foster home. I was put into my fourth school for my junior year. At that time, everything was just turned upside down. I dropped out of high school. I left home at 18. And my story doesn't get better there for years. But today I'm a mother of 4. Today I'm married to my best friend. We met at Mandalay Middle School. My story is not quite as fun as Joni's. We only met at middle school, not on a bar on Colfax. But we also have more pets than we do kids. This past May, I graduated Front Range Community College with a focus in psychology, and I hope to continue that into a degree into social work. I'm running for office because I'm not actually the perfect candidate. I'm a human. I make mistakes, but I have a world of life experiences lived right here in Jefferson County. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Vanessa. Okay, these next questions are pretty rapid fire. We're keeping it tight to 30 seconds so we can be sure we answer as many questions as possible and people can see you from different perspectives. This first question comes to us as it relates to the business community. What business experience do you have? And if elected, how would you draw from that experience to aid in our economic recovery?
Well, absolutely. So as I've said, I've had a world of experiences here. A lot of that is work experience, working in all sorts of different industry, everything from retail, small business, insurance. And the one thing I know is in a time of economic hardship, businesses don't need more regulation. They need less. They need less fees, less taxes. So let's keep them going by keeping roads in order. Time spent in traffic is time away and money. If you're landscaping, if you're HVAC, you need to move from job to job. That's how you keep businesses going strong.
Thank you for that. And then this next question is yes or no. If elected, will you commit to your full term in office?
Absolutely. Already planning the re-election campaign.
Our country, our state, and even our counties are divided right now. Can you give us an example of a time that you've worked together with people of varying viewpoints to accomplish something positive?
Absolutely. I always go with this term of coming into an agreement is much better than compromise. Compromise means somebody is losing something. An agreement means everybody agrees and has found some common ground. So whether it's working in schools and PTAs or working in a business and you're trying to find the best way to achieve that goal, find everybody's goal and then find a way to work towards it. It is time to put aside divisive politics and find where everybody wants to just make their community better and make government work for them.
What is the biggest challenge facing our state?
Mental health. mental health, hands down. Mental health crosses over into education. Mental health crosses into our professional and personal lives. Mental health crosses over into law enforcement, and it is something that needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
If elected, what is your top priority?
Mental health. I would like to really focus on looking at mental health in education, specifically those kids who utilize special education services, IEPs. I think this is where we find a lot of those issues that become graduated when they don't have enough intervention and enough services that can really help address that. Losing time in school just to get services doesn't always make the problem better or go away.
What will be your biggest challenges in this role?
As a Republican, I think going down to a House that is majority held by Democrats, but the challenge doesn't really have to be that big of a challenge. We can work across the aisle. We can level out committees and show that we can have better support in committees and bills and policy coming out of committees with better support, Republican and Democrat, and therefore the public can better receive these when they see that work is being done.
How do you plan to keep the state safe, for example, with COVID?
I think there's a lot of businesses who have spoke up that they still haven't received some PPE, that they, first of all business is essential. All business should get to stay open. So all business should receive any of that protective equipment equally. Beyond that, getting businesses open. 25% doesn't work for everybody. They need to be open full. When they're open full, they can generate that revenue, generate places for people to go and be together without being grouped quietly and isolated inside of homes.
While you're running for your own reasons, how will you also listen to varying views of residents in your district and work for those taxpayers?
Oh, this is a great question, because of course, every candidate runs for their own, but I've spent a lot of time at doors this campaign cycle, a lot of time at doors, and working with people, talking with them. You listen to not just the business community, not just residents, but you find a way to bring all of that together. And again, it's not just Jefferson County, it's not just Westminster, this is all of Colorado. What works for Jeffco might not work up in Pitkin County. So there's a lot to be said for being able to balance and leverage all of those stakeholders within our communities.
Who are your role models?
I'd say my daughter. I'd say any kid, anybody that fights that battle of mental health and depression. There's so many that battle, from veterans to our police officers and adolescents. But to see an adolescent struggle and really fight for that time, that to me is somebody with strength and grit, and that's somebody deserving to be a role model.
Thank you. And this question comes to us from a viewer. Brian Dice is asking that we all hear a lot about the constraints of Tabor and Gallagher. How would you approach a state budget within those constraints?
So I'm a totally out of the box kind of person. I think when we look at Tabor and Gallagher, we're looking at ways to fund public education. We're looking at ways to create revenue streams. If we would look at more creative ways, we wouldn't have to have Gallagher. We wouldn't have to be managing the taxpayers' money. We could be involving free market solutions. We could be involving better ways to address education, but bring in those mental health solutions. So I think it's more out of the box beyond just being creative and either repealing it or amending it.
Okay, at this point, we're taking up any last minute questions. If anyone has anything, please drop it in here. Quick shout outs to folks. I have to do this because my dad's on here watching. So I made it home just fine. Thanks for tuning in to this broadcast. That's so funny. Okay, so how would you address the budget with competing interests?
So a $3.3 billion shortfall. This is really unprecedented times that we're in. Competing interests are just that. Those are interests, but there's also priorities. So government has priorities for the people. The consent of the governed has said we want government to take care of our roads, to provide public safety, and to provide education. So it's not just competing; it's prioritizing that budget, and again, bringing in all those stakeholders in our communities.
Excellent. We have time for your 30-second remarks.
Well, 30 seconds isn't a lot of time, but again, just a huge thank you, because staying engaged in elections and voting and making your voice heard is just the foundation of our country. And this is such an exciting time, scary time, but exciting. I post this. I'm a mother of 4, and I know the issues in our district because I've lived here my whole life. I'm supported by law enforcement, and I support law enforcement, and I want to create better access to mental health care. Vanessa DeMott, DeMottforColorado.com. I'd appreciate your support, your vote, and again, get out there and vote.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And to all of you that are tuned in, please be sure to hit the share button so others in your network can know more about Vanessa and why she's seeking the office that she is. Appreciate all that you're doing, being on here with us. Of course, Alberto, stay with me. We will be back on here momentarily with another candidate. Thank you guys for tuning in.